Welcome back to Raff's Brain, a show about things that are interesting to me. I am your host, Rob Rafferty. Yes, it's time for another episode of Drive and Jive. Drive and Jive, my friends. This is the stream of content of the Raff's Brain universe, where I hit record and let her rip while I'm driving around the world. In this case, I'm driving from Arlington, Virginia to Buchanan, West Virginia, my home among the hills, the stomping grounds of my youth, 26201 North Central. And I'm very excited to go back, visit my padre, mi hermana. What's the Spanish word for niece? I'm going to talk to Meta for a second. So I got so many little layers of technology permeating my life right now. I'm very curious. I was just calling my dad Padre, as I have for many years. I called my sister Hermana, which I never do, but I was just rolling with this Spanish, situation. And then as it came back to me, I was like, how do I talk about my niece? Tio and Tia, I think that's uncle and aunt. What is niece and nephew in Spanish? So I'm going to ask Meta. Hey Meta, what's the Spanish word for niece? Sobrina. I've never heard that word. Are you kidding me? All right, don't talk to me. Stop. I can't have all these voices in my head and things playing around. I'm trying to record a podcast. I never heard that word before, so I'm not going to pretend that I know it. I think, to me, it does not sound right. I'm just letting you know. I'm sure it's correct, but I just think there's another word that we haven't used. Anyway, the long story short is it's Riffin. It's not Riffin. Riffin with Raff is the other part of content. That's interview. Back up a second. Rewind the tape. What the hell is Raff's Brain? Listen, there are only a couple, tens of listeners at this point, and that's a beautiful thing. And if you're a friend, a family member, or a fan, or a follower, if you're one of the 4 Fs, friends, fans, followers, family, whatever category you fall into, I appreciate you for being here, joining me on my adventures of life. But if you're new to this show, congratulations. I don't know what you're in for. This may or may not be your cup of tea. What I do is literally, as the tagline describes, I talk about things that are interesting to me. And I do this in a variety of ways. Drive and jive, or walk and talk, depending on my mode of transportation. That is me hitting record, pontificating, elaborating, elucidating, hallucinating, and speculating, and all that sort of, other things that end in ing. That's what I do. I hit record and I just riff. Why don't I call it riffing and driving? Because it doesn't rhyme, okay? Riffin with Raff is the other set of content. It's an interview show. That's also very hit and miss. I just talk to people that I know that inspire me, that I'm hanging out with or whatever, and we share little nuggets of insight and have fun. And then, whether or not people enjoy that, hey, that's your decision. And then finally, well, not finally, but in addition, there's something called Hot Yoga Problems, which I record on my brief journey home from hot yoga sessions back in Arlington, Virginia. It's usually about 10 to 12 minutes. And that's just also silly and goofy. It makes no sense. So what I'm warning you, not really, I'm just giving you a heads up. It's not a warning. There's nothing to be afraid of. It's not, I just don't want you to waste your time. There's really no rhyme or reason to what goes on here. It's just it's a process. It's just catharsis and narcissism to the max. So thank you. It's great. But what I want to talk about is on my way here. I'm basically on my way home. I'm going to be back to Buchanan here probably about half an hour. But as I was my mind was ruminating and speculating and all that sort of stuff on the drive home, because I'm currently in a 30-day posting challenge on Instagram. It's sponsored by an organization called Stan, which is basically a platform for content creators where they can, lure their fans, sell their wares, that sort of thing. In my case, I have nothing to sell. It's more like just, hey, I bought into this idea that 30 days of consecutive posting on Instagram could be fun and interesting. I could learn something, and it's a good forcing mechanism to like take action versus pontificate. So I'm a fan of Stan. I'm a Stan. How's that? Anyway, today's day 5, and I haven't posted yet. So when I get home, I gotta post. But what I've been posting about so far, what I think I'll post about for the 30 days, just to kind of keep a consistency to the content, is text-to-video animation, AI tools for making cartoons, essentially, which is what I've been working on the past couple months. It's an intense side hobby, and evenings and weekends, having a lot of fun, messing around with all these crazy innovations and tools out there. There's of which it just more comes online every day. It's a crazy, exciting world, and I'm embracing it for all it's worth. So I'm happy to talk more about that just a little bit, because I'm encountering some barriers. Now, I will allude to this in a selfie video on my Instagram page, which is @RobRafferty on Instagram. I'll drop a link to that in the show notes in case you want to see the overlaps. On Instagram, I always keep my posts under a minute. I don't want to waste your time. I'm just like putting in some reps, you know. But I'm going to say something like, you know, I've hit my first barrier, which is not surprising. You hit barriers when you're creating content. What I'm coming to discover is I'm underutilizing AI. My perspective needs to be much bigger in terms of the possibilities, in terms of the potential for innovation and disruption and transformation and change. Really radically different ways to communicate versus a more efficient way to create something that's very familiar. Let me break that down a little bit in a way that I couldn't or didn't in my Instagram post, assuming I do that later today. I mean, I'm just imagining this is all going to fit together and make some sort of sense in a world that might have one or two people consume both streams of content. Let me expound. That's interesting. Those words are not that different. Expand, expound. Expand, expound. How many different letters we have there? Like 1 or 2, right? It's not, and they're syllabically, structured the same. EXPAND, EXPOUND, expound. I think. Which term works better for the sentence I was about to say? So I'd like to expand on some of the ideas that I planted there in my latest Instagram Reels. So I'd like to expound on some of the ideas that I pontificated about on my latest Instagram Reels. I think expound, but I don't know why. And I don't know how those terms are unique. How are they different? I should look that up. If you will permit me, if you will indulge me, I can ask my sunglasses, because I've connected these things. These are the Ray-Ban sunglasses that have a connection to Meta, so I'm going to ask Meta to hook me up. But you can't hear what she says, okay? You have to trust. It's like that game of, what is the game called where you whisper in people's ear? The telephone game. We're going to play a version of that. I'm going to ask Meta for help, and I'm going to share it with you, and then we'll learn together in some weird way, and hopefully nothing will get lost in translation, although it's probably likely that something will get lost, and that's like the story of humanity, right? Let's go with this. Okay. Hey Meta, what is the difference between the word expand and expound? Okay, expand means to make something bigger or wider, she says. Expound means to elaborate on a topic. So I think in the context of how I was using it, expound is the more preferred term. Although I think expand could work as well. They're not quite interchangeable. They are in a sense, but I love this, getting more precise with the language. I got to work on that big time. Because how often do you misuse words? All the freaking time. I say things and I mispronounce things. Ooh, I got a message. I'm not going to check the phone, but I'm going to ask to read the message. Hey, Meta, read the message to me, please. Okay, that was from a friend. Nothing important. You got to keep that on the down low. Secrets, baby, secrets. It's one of my text chains with my college boys. And there's all sorts of banter on there about, you know, the Olympics and this and that. So it's, you know, I got, how many text threads do you juggle at any given time? I'm talking about text groups. I got my OGs, Code H, Johann Sparing Bach III, and Nate Dogg. Those are high school buddies. I got something called like Ashbaw's group, Dave Ashbaugh and other friends of mine from college, fraternity buddies. I got some karaoke friends from North Arlington. I got like these different groups. You got to be careful not to let sometimes you reply to one of those groups and it's, oh, I thought it was a different group, you know, and your nomenclature, your honesty. I don't want to say honesty, authenticity. That's not even the word, because I don't want to pretend that we're dishonest. But it's a fact that we communicate differently. There's like code language, or there are certain norms about the way you will communicate with these different groups. Thankfully for me, I'm pretty fluid across those three. They're all guys, first of all, now that I think about it. Those are just guy groups. In fact, if I really did a little thought on this, it's like these are groups of guys from different stages of my life. OGs are guys that have known me the longest. I mean, I met some of these cats in 3rd grade, bro. And now I'm over 50 years old. So it's like, that's a long time. Then you got the college people. They're going to know you in a certain way, in a certain light. And then you're going to have your adult friends that you made, or, you know, since you grew up and got a job. And it's just funny to them, you know, those are three distinct now. If I got all those guys together in a room, would we be friends? Would they get together? I think so. I think guys are easy like that. At least the guys I hang out with, man, I'm not high maintenance. We're all chill. We just do what we do, man. There's no confusion or expectations or cattiness, you know. We're just chill dudes. Chill dudes. And there's a lot of common interests among them. I mean, actually, the one thread that might go across all that is a passion for Pittsburgh sports. That unites. And they don't even know it. But that would be a uniting factor. If I got those guys together, let's say that in total it was like 10 or 15 of them, and we were in a science experiment, bring these people together and observe their interactions, and what does this reveal about Rob's choices in social contact or whatever. We're trying to do a study. Aliens are trying to understand Rafferty. They go, well, it seems that there's something that runs through all of these relationships. It's an affinity for black and gold. Yeah, baby. Pittsburgh professional sports. That's not entirely true. A couple of my college buddies, of course, they didn't hail from Pittsburgh. One of them, unfortunately, I mean, I feel bad for the dude. He's a big Cleveland fan. I'm not like, I grew up, I am now in a different mindset. I don't make fun of Cleveland. I don't look down on Cleveland. I someday would like to go visit it. I'm curious about it. I have sadness in my heart for people, though, that have rooted so hard for their whole lives for that franchise, the Browns. My goodness. It must be just devastating. And then, like, but I respect it, and I'm no longer in the hate category. I'm no longer even a rival. My mindset shifted a lot. I just want to make sure that people know not all of my. It's not like there's an exclusive Pittsburgh only friendship lane for me. Like that's not a defining characteristic. It just happens to be for those three groups. Back on topic, because I'm gonna be home in about 5 minutes. I want to make sure I land this runaway freight chain. Usually you land a plane, you might bring a train to a stop at a station. I'm trying to land the runaway freight train that fell off a cliff and it's midair, it's spinning and flipping, and I want to make sure that it lands in some way that is coherent, which it's not. I mean, again, nothing in this show is coherent, but I have like 5 minutes to do that, so here we go. If you're here and you're not a friend, family, fan, or follower, you're not in the 4 Fs, and you're just someone who got lured into here because you may have seen me talk about Raff's brain on Instagram, and I said, I'm going to talk about my AI text-to-video animation a little bit more deeply on my podcast today. And you made it this far because you probably gave up. Right? I haven't talked about it mostly. Well, thank you for being here. If that's you. If you're like in that very niche category, it's probably a universe of like one. Whoever you are. Thanks, man. I hope you come back. Welcome to Raff's Brain. What I wanted to communicate, though, is I think the way that we use technologies, new technologies, when they hit the scene, at first is to become efficient at what we already know. And then eventually the real pioneers use it to change the way we even communicate and share ideas. So what do I mean by this? I mean, the first film cameras were used on sticks to record live plays, and that was revolutionary because someone could watch a play that occurred where they weren't present, and that was mind-blowing, and that was a big deal. But if you look back, it's super antiquated, right? Like, it took time for people to disrupt and go, oh my gosh, we can move the camera, and this can be a whole new type of emotional experience for the viewer. We can introduce things like lighting and editing and audio effects and like all these different innovations that really transform into a form of communication that didn't exist beforehand. I don't think we appreciate that because we're born into a world where it's ubiquitous, but this is not, for most of human history, the nature of our experience. So that's fascinating. So to me, where my mind goes is I think there is going to be some real change and transformation in the way that we tell and share and communicate stories by using AI tools. And there's a lot of different ways that could go, and it's going to be fun to see how that all plays out, because I'm telling you, no one can predict it. No one knows. No one knows. We'll figure it out as we go, and that's part of the fun. Experimentation. A lot of people will invest heavily time, effort, energy trying to figure this stuff out, and they're going to fail dramatically, spectacularly. It's going to be like insane amount of startups and failures, but someone's going to get it right, and they're going to create the next cool, fascinating enterprise and storytelling IP, I guess. So why am I even getting into all this? So here's where it comes to me. I've been using these AI text-to-video animation tools to create a series of scenes that are cartoons where I'm prompting, getting results, and stitching it together, and ultimately creating a, say, 1 to 1.5 minute clip that's part of a series of clips. But what's interesting is I can do that. It's not quite working. It's a little bit more efficient. I can't draw or animate, so it's enabling me to do something I couldn't have done previously. That is for sure. But it's not quite yet where I need it to be in terms of the speed that I can execute. And then I got to realizing all I'm doing is using these tools in a very familiar way. Like, ooh, I can make cartoons and tell stories in a 1.5 minute, vertical video. Well, there's nothing transformative or revolutionary about that. I'm not suggesting I have the capacity to be revolutionary. I'm not suggesting I have the capacity to be entertaining and successful in the contemporary mediums that exist. It's not like I'm crushing on any of these platforms, right? I suck. So I'm not going to pretend that I have the answers to this. I'm not going to tell you that I know what's coming. But it's, to me, the fun part of these tools is trying to imagine what's possible, not just using them to do what we already know. So what does that mean? I don't know what it means. I'm just telling you what's on my mind. I'm telling you that, the first 4 posts on my Instagram about Mort, Life of Death, a cartoon that I'm creating through AI text-to-video, tech animation tools, is probably sucks. And as I realize that, as I create it, I'm going, this is not really how I should be spending my time. Now, I like the idea of the character, a middle-aged Grim Reaper. I think he's laid off maybe because, innovations in healthcare, life extension, and there's maybe other alternatives that are coming in, more efficient ways to get rid of humans and that sort of. I think there's something funny and relatable about this in the world we're in, where we're all becoming less valued, maybe, or maybe our perception of the world is just accelerating so quickly, and how do we keep up with it? So it's first world problems through the eyes of a Grim Reaper as he's struggling with his departure from the craft or whatever, and trying to understand his purpose, because he's had, for so much of his life, has been attached to his purpose as work. Once you lose that identity, how do you actually move on? What's he gonna do? Anyway, I think it's something fun to explore there. But just because I think that's a fun concept to explore doesn't mean it's gonna translate well, and it's not really working. As I'm trying to put these cartoons together, it's just not working. So I'm gonna make, first of all, a tweak that's just cosmetic or aesthetic, I guess would be the word, maybe both. I'm gonna take out the audio in terms of no or very, very, very limited conversation. I'm gonna tell the story just visual. Actions, reactions, close-ups, reveals. And I think I can actually execute better based on how the tools work. What I have a struggle with right now is getting characters to say things in the cadence or timing that is necessary to evoke a comedic reaction, right? Comedy is all about, well, it's not all about, partially, at least some of it is about timing. You see something, you hear something, you see a reveal, boom. And it's hard to orchestrate that with AI text-to-video tools. It's just a little off, and therefore it doesn't work. And so, instead of trying to force these tools to work and to create something that we already know, try to use them to do things we don't know. But I'm gonna that's my next level. The first level is gonna be try to do it visually. It'll still be familiar. It'll run like a, I'm trying to say like a comic book that doesn't have any words. Those are silent episodes. They're some of the best issues of comics all the time. There's a G.I. Joe episode where Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow battle it out, and then later on they did another issue where the jet pilots were fighting, and it's those are probably the two best issues of G.I. Joe ever. No dialogue. So can I do something fun like that with this Mort life or death character? Yes, I'm gonna try. But bigger picture, how can I even get crazier about this? I think the real opportunity with AI is the speed at which you can create things, and maybe the way there are opportunities to integrate your audience's perspective and issues and ideas into the content very quickly, so you can iterate and produce multiple versions of a story. I don't know, man. I'm just making this up. I'm thinking about it though. That's what I'm going to get to. I just pulled into my dad's house. I'm gonna wrap this episode. Thank you for being here. It's gonna be a fun week. I'm gonna be in West Virginia. I'm gonna catch up with some friends. I'm going to do some work remote as always, and keep pushing boundaries on the creativity, man. That's what I do. Thanks for being here. Until next time, see ya. Bye-bye.